Hello YouTubers and welcome back to Go Figure Customs YouTube channel. Today is Steel Bone versus Freeman, the Joytoy mechs. And if you know me, you know I usually only collect 1/18th scale. So you're probably wondering why I have one of the 1/24th. Is it 1/24th or is it 1/25th? Is it 1/27th? I don't actually know. I keep seeing a whole bunch of different stuff saying which one is, they keep changing the scale. All I know is it's not 1/18th scale. So you're probably wondering why I got one if it's not 1/18th scale. Because it is freaking awesome. That's why. And I love mechs. So the Steel Bone, obligatory dick joke number 2 for today. Steel Bone mech. I got the sand. There's sand version. There's a couple different versions, and there's even 2 more up for pre-order. A couple of them are just repaints, but more and more the Steel Bones, they're retooling them so they have different parts, so they're unique mechs on top of that. So you're not just buying a repaint anymore. They have different weapon systems, different canopies. It's really, they put a lot of cool effort into the 1/24th, 1/25th, 1/27th, the 1/20th area scale mechs that makes them really hard to pass up. I think one of the hallmark features, of course, of a mech is to be able to put a figure inside. And the 1/24th scale, 25th, whatever, does come with the figure. And that is the figure right there that goes with him. And it does fit in there. But, compared to a 1/18th scale guy, you can see the difference. I mean, it's not even a midget. You can't even say that's a midget. That's like a toddler there. So, I mean, there is definitely some scale disparity there between the two. So why did I still get one of these things? Like I said, it's freaking awesome. And with just a little imagination, it doesn't have to be a mech. I don't have to put somebody in this. It could just as very easily be a remote operated vehicle, ROV vehicle, or it could be controlled by an AI, or quite honestly, if I really wanted to go all out, and let's open this thing up. There's the cockpit. There's something rattling around in there. I don't know what that is. No, it's one of the, it's the handle for the weapon. So I am also missing the controls for it. I don't know why those were off, but they were. Anyway, so if I really wanted to get creative, I could make a 1/18th scale, call them like really like postmodernistic transhuman with no arms, no legs, just the torso pegged into the mech. And I think that would really actually be pretty cool. I may actually do that. I don't know. I see some of that in mech art, and it's kind of freaky, but it's kind of cool at the same time. And that's totally an option with this. But what's really awesome about this is just they put a lot of effort into this one. Like I said, the cockpit opens and closes. So the front opens here. Sorry, I've got new lighting and it's hard to see what I'm doing with the light in my eyes. One downside feature here is there's this little piece that clips onto the front, and it doesn't like to stay clipped. It doesn't like to stay on there. All right, so the head's articulated. It opens and closes, but it also has these panels that go up on the sides. And it has the panels on the bottom too. or yeah, on the back, right there. You can see the back opens up. And then on the back, speaking of the back, we've got multi-positional like jump thrusters. So they swivel and they go up and down, which is really cool. All right. To me, also one of the hallmark features of a mech is a shoulder-mounted weapon. I don't know why. Maybe it's from Votom's Scope Dog stuff all those years ago. And geez, what was that tabletop mech game? Oh my God, that's gonna bother me. Should have looked that up before I started this. Anyway, it was a computer-based game too for a while, and I played it in high school. Anyway, and most of those had like shoulder-mounted weapons, so it's kind of like a signature feature for me is a shoulder-mounted weapon. And this doesn't have to be a shoulder-mounted weapon. That is one of the fantastic pieces about this. And I'm sorry if this is the review where you expected me to take it all apart and put it together in its different formations so you could see how to do that, because that's what I look for in like Transformer reviews. This isn't one of those kind of videos. I'm sorry. I am going to show you, however, that this weapon is very modular. So it's right now, it's plugged into an adapter that will allow it to be shoulder mounted, but that just pegs right off. And then it's detachable here. We've got this, and then we've got this piece here. So we can put it in like that. And we could add this piece to the front, like so. And then we could take off the ammo box from the mount, like so. And it fits like that. And all of a sudden you got a very cool rifle. And there's a stock for it too. I don't have it on. I thought I brought the parts over because I got a bag of parts. Yeah, I didn't bring it over. I thought I did. Or did I? Yeah, I did. Is the stock in there? No, stock's not in there. I don't know what the stock is right now because I don't use it. I'm not too keen on the handheld weapons. I like the shoulder-mounted weapons. I think that's, I don't know, it's just a thing for me. So you could take off the front, and then it's like an assault rifle. Or you could, there's another way to, yeah. Undersling it like that. But there's, in the instructions, there's about 4 or 5 different configurations that it shows how to, especially with the stock, how to, different ways that you can configure the weapon, which I think is really cool. In fact, one of the coolest things I've seen, and I haven't done it just because I don't intend to do it. Are these the pieces? Yeah, these are the pieces, but the stock wasn't in there. And I don't have the instructions with me because I don't know where they're at. And I do have the boxes, though. I'll show you the boxes here in a little bit. Is that you can make basically an artillery cannon for your 1/24th scale figure. It will make like a fixed artillery sight for your figure. I think that is probably one of the coolest features I have seen for a weapon that goes with a mech. I'm not I'm not gonna do that in this video. Sorry. Normally, simply because I don't have the instructions to show you how to do it. And I don't, like I said, I'm not using this in 1/24th scale, so it really doesn't fit too well with what I'm doing. So I'm pegging it back into the shoulder mount and pegging that ammo onto the other side, and I'll probably just leave it like that for right now. I'll put that on the shoulder, back on the shoulder after a bit here. All the joints are standard at what you'd expect. We got a swivel on the feet. It does ratchet forward. The knee kind of has a reverse knee. It's double jointed on the knee. And then the hip joints are what you'd expect, the normal hip joints. And then we've got like a ball in the waist, and that piece in the front just keeps coming off. So, but a ball joint in the torso. And then, like I said, there's all kinds of like hinges on this thing, which is just fabulous. What came off? Oh, that might be inside. Yeah, that was the, I know what came off. It was the control console. Doesn't like to stay pegged on very well. All right, so put that there. On the top, we get this little missile launcher, swivels up and down, left and right. One of the coolest features, I think, on this, even though it's out of scale for what I'm doing, is there's this back panel here that opens, and there is a removable first aid kit in there. Not easily removable, because there's a tab and it fits in the handle, so it doesn't come out very easily. But there's a removable first aid kit in the panel there. I think that is probably one of the coolest features I've ever seen on a mech. Then there's these. It's got peg holes everywhere, so you could reconfigure. You can strip it all down and just have it as like a lightweight mech, and then put your armor back on, then it's a heavier mech. So, and all the armor is removable. So, I mean, like, there's, it's hinged at the shoulder, and then this piece that comes off, and then the forearm piece comes off. As an aside, the wrist is articulated, the fingers are articulated. There's another peg hole on the back, so if they made like an expansion weapons pack, you could peg a weapon into the back of the hand. The thigh armor comes off. The back of the thigh comes off. I've got something pegged in there. I don't know why I have that pegged in there. Then it has 2 grenades as well, on top of all the other stuff. The joints are stiff enough that it doesn't get loose, but not tight enough to where you're going to break it, which is kind of a fine line to tread, I think, but they did a very good job with it. So you got these big like canister grenades, and they'll clip onto stuff. I'll just sit on there. And then I've seen different configurations on where those can clip in. So like up there, right there. And then I've seen them in the front too, but I don't remember how I saw somebody do that. And then there's like, there's skirting around the torso, bottom of the torso that's hinged. There's a skirting in the back, and then there's skirting on the side, skirting on the side there, and it's hinged. Those do tend to pop off, unfortunately, but that's how it goes. And I think I had that on wrong, actually. So I may actually have this, because I took everything off and then put it all back together. And then see, like right here, there's a slot, and that grenade will go right in that slot there. Oops. Let's pull it back a little bit. See if you can see this. So it'll peg in there. It doesn't really, it'll interfere with the arm articulation a little bit, I think, but so I'm not quite sure what the best way to do that is. But and you can hear how tight those ratchets are. I have seen somebody say, oh shit. Sorry, knocked over one of my lights here. All right. I have seen somebody say that they have broken a joint on one of these, but only one person. And I've seen several people that have them. So, I don't know. It's an expensive toy. Use caution with any expensive toy, I think is warranted anyway. So yeah, it will not. One of the questions I got was, will it hold a 1/18 scale figure at all? The answer is no, it will not. Not without heavy modification. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. No, let me do something else. Hang on a sec. Let me get the figure that came with this guy, because we're going to look at that one next. All right, so this is the figure that came with the Freeman. Let's put him in. And actually, he's got a decent crotch, so I wish they would do this on the rest of the figures. You can see how when he is in a sitting position, well, it's sort of decent. His legs are together, but they don't come to a 90-degree angle, which they should. But I'm going to take that console out for a minute, and we'll put, his head comes off. I don't think that's intentional. Yeah, so that's kind of the best that a 1/18 scale figure will sit in there. I mean, you could there's a lot of mechs that have open cockpits. So, I mean, it would work like that. Some of the acid rain stuff is kind of like that, the speeders. So, I mean, yeah, it could work like that. You could have this as an open canopy mech and still put a 1/18 scale figure in there. And yeah, it will still work like that. So, I mean, yeah, you can do it. It won't close up, but it's still, in this figure, it's still doable, I think. It's still usable in a 1/18 scale, even though it might not be how you'd like to be able to utilize it in a 1/18 scale. So the pros and cons. Pros on this. Oh, and there's a little. There's some clips right here on the inside of the canopy, which will hold the little assault rifle he came with, the 1/24 scale guy, which is in this little bag that I'm not going to open because I don't want to lose it. So trust me, it comes with a little assault rifle that will slide into there. I have seen somebody that has done some heavy modification and they've taken this back part out, and they were able to get a 1/18 scale figure in there and close it up. But it doesn't really look good that way because it's just not in scale, obviously. But I think as an open canopy mech, I think it would work as a 1/18 scale just fine. So pros and cons. Pros are the insane amount of modularity to this. All the armor comes off. It has peg holes everywhere, which would indicate that, you know, to me, that they're going to do expansion packs, maybe weapons, any number of accessories they could make for these things, because you could plug stuff in all over this thing. It's just insane. The articulation's fantastic. Everything you come to expect from Joytoy is in this mech. So the pros to me is the modularity. Aside from the normal stuff, the quality, the articulation, we'll say that's all kind of a given, because it really just is. The modularity and the shoulder-mounted weapon are the pros on this one. And the modularity of the weapon in and of itself is fantastic. The cons on this, I cannot get a 1/18 scale figure in there and close the cockpit. So, but it clearly wasn't enough to make me not get one, because it is still usable as a ROV or AI controlled weapon, and it's just it's a fun toy. It absolutely is just fun to play with. So I'm going to set that one probably just out of frame so we have more room here. Here, let me set that down. And then let's look at the Freeman mech. So a lot of the same articulation. We've got the shoulders that rotate out back. It's a single jointed elbow. Just so you know, if you get one of these, there is an articulation point between the shoulder joint and the upper arm, and it's probably on backwards. So with the pistons forward, and if it is, you're not going to be able to move the arms up. Don't force it, you're gonna break it. Rotate the top piece and then rotate the elbow forward. Then you can move your arms up. Ball jointed wrists, fingers are articulated. Same on the other side, obviously. Take the weapon off the back for a minute. So there's a peg that pegs in so he can carry the weapon on his back. That little skirt piece that kept flopping off on the front of the other one, there's like a little articulated, I would call it like a step right there. On the back, get some nice detail sculpted in there, like tanks of what I would assume are fuel or, you know, batteries for the mech, plus the guards. Be careful of this top one. Don't push down on that. I did push down on it, and I didn't break it, but I bent it out of place to the point where I did have to super glue it back in place. Instead of the dual thrusters on the back like the other one, it does have a thruster that moves up and down in the back, which is pretty cool. There are a couple modular pieces of armor on this. Two pieces right here on the upper back of the thigh, and I believe the thigh armor does come off. Maybe it doesn't. I thought it did. It looks like it does. Nah, maybe it doesn't. I'm not going to force it. And then there's little articulated bars back here behind the knees. And then we've got double articulated feet in the back, which is pretty cool. I mean, that would really allow it to stand on any kind of uneven terrain, really cool. And then really easily. And then there's articulated pieces right here on the feet to allow above the feet to allow foot movement. And it does have a few peg holes on it. We got one here on the body. There's one on the thigh, right above the knee. There's a couple small ones on the upper arms, and then two on the back. Let's see what else here. Oh, there's a little articulated eye right up there. A buddy of mine bought 2 of them and took the arms off his and put 4 legs on it. And it actually looked pretty cool. So the legs and the arms are interchangeable. He put 4 arms on the other one and it looks stupid. But the 4-legged one looks really cool. So, wouldn't be a mech if we couldn't put something muddy in it, right? Top part flips open. Bottom part flips out. There's like a little ladder sculpted in there. It doesn't come out, which I think they could have, as much as they put into this, they could have made that on a hinge and it could have come out, but And I put one of my Navy SEALs in there. So that's who's in my mech right now. I'm going to take him out. Just for a minute, just to show you the interior cockpit. Let's see if we can get the light on that a little bit better. Probably not. Sorry. I'm just knocking over everything on this. So instead of the control arm in the middle, it's got control bars that are on the sides. They do, however, move. They're on swivels, so they can go in a circular motion. What else is in there? His gun is in there. So there's enough room behind him to put his, whatever that was probably another weapon. I think it was his other gun. Yeah, it was his other gun. So there's enough space behind him, just kind of how the figures are built and sit in there for a weapon to sit behind, his weapon to sit behind him, which I think is pretty cool. The pilot that came with it. Here's the pilot that came with it. He's got a man bun. That's why he's not piloting the mech. He's got a man bun. Disqualification. This is his body armor. Oh, we're kind of losing the light here. Body armor that goes on. And it has a removable knife on the chest, which is really cool. That something that small. And then it just, yeah, I'd have to take his head off. Not a problem, because it doesn't want to stay on anyway. So there he is. And then, yeah, mine doesn't want to stay together. At the upper torso doesn't want to stay pegged to the middle part of the torso. Honestly, this is the first Joytoy figure where I've had that problem. And of course, it's with the mech pilot where that's like a huge issue. I mean, because he's got a bend right there to sit in. Oh, and his legs just popped off. And his head just popped off. The stuff on my mech pilot doesn't really want to stay together really well. I'm not really, see, I mean, he just keeps popping off. I'm not really impressed with the figure that comes with this one. So that's why he's not in there. The weapon is pretty cool. It's got a 2-piece bar set here. So you can plug it in on the top, or you can plug it in on the bottom. Like so. So it can be rested like that. I have it on the top because it'll interfere with the whatever these things are supposed to be. I imagine they're like plasma containers, and that's what it's, you know, it's like it's ammunition. And those do come out. Well, so they just peg right in there. And it comes with 3 of those. So you got 2 on the bottom and 1 on the side. Got a dual handle on the back. What's really cool about this gun, hold out piece. Look at that. It's got a pistol. Just pegs right in, slides right in there. So it looks like it's part of the gun. So you imagine this, you're firing this thing off. You've run your plasma cannon dry. You got one more guy coming. They think you're out of ammo, so they're charging you. Bam, bam, bam. You guys are dead. Hold out piece. I like that. I think that's fantastic. That is the coolest part about this particular weapon, because the shitty part about this weapon is it doesn't mount into the shoulder anywhere. I like shoulder mounted weapons, especially for my mechs. There's not a peg high enough. I mean, that's as close as we can get it. And it really kind of interferes with the arm, and it's plugged into the plasma, one of the plasma containers. So it doesn't really sit very well on there. Sorry, my seal jumped off there. So it doesn't, to me, that's a downside. I don't like not having a shoulder mounted weapon. That's a personal preference, I understand, but also because with articulated fingers, those joints get fairly loose and they're not able to hold weapons. I think having articulated fingers is a fantastic feature, but I've talked about this in other videos. Can you have too much articulation? I think that you can if it interferes with the playability. And if you can't hold his weapon right all the time, I would rather not have articulated fingers and have him being able to hold his weapon. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but there it is. But my first choice would be to have articulated fingers, because it really is cool, and have a shoulder mounted weapon. He should have his mech should have, in my opinion, have his hands free for like melee fighting and throwing things and lifting things, but that's just me. So the pros and cons of this one. The pros, clearly the pro of this one is I can get a 1/18 scale figure in this. This is a 1/18 scale mech. It was designed for 1/18 scale figures. The Joytoy figures, even though they don't sit very well, do fit in there perfectly. So anything with even better articulation, like G.I. Joe, is going to fit in there even better. And then, yeah, see, he's not in there all the way. Yeah, see, I don't. There we go. Well, so the pro is that it's definitely 1/18 scale. The cons of it, it's not as modular as the 1/24 scale one. I'm assuming they had to cut some costs on that because of the increased size. So making the armor not modular is understandable, but I really like the modular armor on the 1/24 scale one. And not having a shoulder mounted weapon is a huge one for me. If I had to pick just one, I don't know that I could. I would probably go with the Freeman mech, the 1/18 scale one, just because I can get a 1/18 scale guy in there, and 1/18 scale really is my thing. But playability, once I've got a figure in there, that feature is done. So it comes down to what the rest of the figure can do. So this one takes the cake on that because of the modularity on the weapons and the armor. Like I said, you could strip all the armor plating off and use it as a light mech, and then you could armor it back up and use it as a heavy mech. The weapon has 4 or 5 different configurations, including like a fixed artillery sight for your figure, and I think that would probably still even work in 1/18 scale. I really should have learned how to put that together and show that to you, because it really is kind of a cool feature when you think about it. All the articulation on the panels is fantastic. This has none of that. The only articulation is on the jump jet on the back. That's not a joint, or the cockpit. But overall, I think they are both fantastic figures. They are both highly playable. Customizing is usually something I also get into. I don't know that I would customize these. I think the 1/24th scale has the potential just because of how many hard points it has on it to add stuff. If you've got stuff that will peg into those particular size holes, and I don't know if it's a 5mm peg or how big that is or just what. But at the same time, like I said, my buddy's gotten 2 of these, and he's put 4 legs onto one body, and it looks really cool. So I mean, that is definitely a customizable. You can customize it that way. Let's go with that, huh? So I'm really kind of torn because I really like the fact that I can get a figure in this, but I really like the playability of this other one. I'm really glad I got this one in this color because they really go together. So I got this one off of eBay. It was not very expensive. I got this one from Locker Toys. I think they're running about $120, $130 right now. Big Bad Toy Store has them. This also comes in like a metallic blue. And that's the 2 my buddy has, are the metallic blue. Just due to the fact that I like the more militaristic look. I didn't get one of the blue ones. I'm not going to get one of the blue ones. However, if you had one of the blue ones and you have the blue Falcon figure, those 2 items would look fantastic together. I was almost tempted to get one of the blue ones just to go with that figure. But you know, I don't like this enough to get a second one, especially at that price. And I think money not being an object, I still probably would not get a second one of those. I would probably get a second one of these first. Because they're switching out it's not, like I said, it's not just a repaint. They're making different weapons for them and different cockpit features. I would probably get another one of the steel bones before I got another free man. But they're both pretty cool, and they're both pretty fun to play with. I think they're very durable. I don't anticipate any broken joints. I have seen, I think, like I said, only one person say that they've broken a joint on one of these mechs. And I usually keep an eye out for stuff like that. I didn't get one of these. They've been making these 1/24th, 1/25th scale mechs for a while now, and I've seen them and I've passed them up. And I wish I'd picked up a few of these because they had other models out there that just can't get anymore, and they aren't that expensive as far as mechs go. But I didn't get them because I couldn't put a guy in it. But I thought, yeah, remote operated vehicle would be pretty cool. And I'm glad I got this one. And I really like how these 2 work together. And I recently got the G.I. Joe General. And it works really, really well as a mobile mech base. So it's got the 2 platforms on the side and the little helicopter in the middle. So I have 1 mech on each platform, and it looks really cool. And then I got guys crawling all over the platforms. So that's a real fun way to play with them, and a real neat way to display them as well. I think, do you want to see the boxes? I'll just show you the boxes. Hang on a sec here. They're not really anything exciting. All right, here are the boxes. Here's the one for the, let's get these guys out of here. Oops. Here's the one for the steel bone. Oops, I just jumped off the couch, off the chair. So we've got the artwork on the front, picture on the side. action picture on the other side, close-up of the driver in the box. It's got the English on it as usual, and is, you know, like my wife's favorite thing is it says children are easy to eat. I love that. That is hilarious. You think they'd at least be able to run something through Google Translate. Maybe they did run it through Google Translate and that's what they got. I don't know. You'd think they'd at least be able to get one person to translate these things. This Freeman mech, here's the same thing. Art on the front, full picture on the side, action picture on the back, close-up of the pilot in and out of the mech. And if you're wondering, why does that box look all beat up? Well, Locker Toys basically put this in a bag with a label and mailed it. And yeah, the box was crushed when I got it. Luckily, it's packaged very well, so nothing was broken on it. I think that's really all I've got for the Freeman versus the Steel Bone. Which is the winner? I would call it a tie. Each one has its pros, each one has its cons, and they're not the same on either mech. So, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And of course, in these troubling times, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned.